In this video, I'll be showing you how to make game tiles for your games. I'll be making hexagons specifically, but you can adapt what you've learned here to make any type of game tile that you want. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is select everything and then delete it all. Next, we're going to need to add a circle. So I'm going to add a circle here and change the vertices to 6. Great, so now we have a hexagon, which is going to be a basic shape for your game tile. And now we need to create a border and then the center part of the tile. So to do that, let's go to Edit Mode, extrude the selected vertices in, so you can see I'm extruding them, and hit Escape to snap them back into place, and then just scale them down using the S key. So now you can see we have a nice border around our hexagon. If you don't like this, if you think it's too skinny, it's really easy to change. You can just make it a bit thicker, or if this is too thick, obviously you can fiddle around with it until it's the right shape. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need a face for the center of the tile, so hit F to fill this. And then we're going to mark this seam so we can UV unwrap it. So I'm going to create a new window here and open the UV image editor, select everything, and then click Unwrap. So you can see here we've unwrapped our image right here. Okay, so it's a little bit difficult to paint on this, because you can see that the edges here are touching, so when I'm painting here, I might paint on this, so I'm going to move it around a little bit. So let's go ahead and select these edges. You can see I still have this vertex selected, so I'm going to unselect it, move it here. Then let's go ahead and select this object and move it here. So this corresponds to the center of our hexagon, and this is going to be the border. Alright, for some reason, when I'm painting, it's like upside down, so I'm just going to flip this upside down so it works properly. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to texture paint mode. You can see what you need to add here. You need to add a texture. So I'm going to call this grass tile, grass texture. And then I'll set the background to a grayish color. That's good. The reason I'm setting the background to grayish color is that so if it's white, you can't see your brush. But if it's black, you can't really see the outlines and where the edges are, so I'm going to use gray as a sort of compromise. Great, so we've got that set up, and now we need to open that texture up in our UV editor so we can edit it. Okay, so let's go ahead and select it, grass texture, and it's really hard to see. But that's okay. It's good enough for our purposes. So let's go ahead and click Paint here to paint on it. And then we're going to click black to go ahead and create a black border around the edges. You can see it's being painted on here. Let's increase the strength to 1 and the radius a little bit bigger so we can paint a little faster. Okay, so we're creating the outside border right now. Great. Okay, so you can see we have a nice black border around the outside of our tile. And now the last thing we need to do is create the inside border. So you can adjust, this is a part that you can add your unique creativity to your tile by making this border on the inside pretty. So let's go ahead and not be creative and make it green. So let's choose a dark green for grass. Okay, and then we'll just paint on here. Like so. You can see we're filling in the tile in the 3D view. And we're just going to make sure we don't have any empty pixels. So that looks good. So you can see now we have a nice green tile with a black border. Obviously you can also paint directly onto your tile. So you can see you can do something like this if you wanted to, and it shows up on the UV editor. So it doesn't really matter where you paint, but it's really hard to paint these crisp edges unless you do an UV unwrap. Great. Okay, so now all we have to do is save everything and then open it up in Blender. So I'll go ahead and save this image. Save as imaged, and we'll call this grass texture. So that's great. And then we'll go ahead and save our mesh object as a tile.blend. Oops, we don't need the extension. It'll automatically do it for us. Great, so now we've got everything all set up. So all we have to do now is open that up in Unity. So we can just import these assets directly into Unity. So let's find our assets. We called this one, let's see, what did we call it? We called it tile.blend. So let's go ahead and add that into Unity. Tile.blend right here. So we drag and drop. Oops, we need to go into project view. Didn't want to do that. All right, let's just go ahead and fix this thing right here. Great, okay. And we've got an assets here, and we're gonna create a new folder called prefabs, because this will be our tile prefab. Great, that's perfect, and we just need to drag and drop this into here. And Unity will be able to automatically read this and understand what it is. So that'll just take a couple seconds, and while we wait for it to do that, I'll just minimize this. Oh, there we go. And now we're going to need to create another folder for our materials. Okay, if we extend this, you can see we've got our circle and a bunch of junk that is just getting imported for no apparent reason by Unity, but that's fine. So if we just added our sort of bland tile here, you can see it's not on the right axis. If we put it to 0, you can see it's being displayed properly. And we've got a nice tile. And if we want to add our material to that tile, you can see this is a blank material. We have to add our texture separately. So I'll delete this since it already gave us materials, and I'll create another folder for textures. Alright, so now we can go ahead and drag and drop our grass texture right here, which is just our UV map. And Unity is importing that. And you can see it kind of looks like a child's drawing, but that is a-okay. And now we need to add that onto this texture. So to do that, you need to change your shader mode. I'll change it here to bump diffuse and select the texture that we want. Great. And you can see we now have a nice texture for our tile. So you can change the inside very easily, as you saw before. And you can see it doesn't look quite right, so let's go ahead and add a light so that it looks like it did in our Blender file. So you can see it looks the same. So that's how you go ahead and add tiles to Unity. Okay, great. So this is a pretty simple way you can add textured tiles to Unity. In our next video, I will show you how to create a hexagonal grid from our basic hexagon tile. I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to rate, subscribe, or leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.